So what I'm going to do is talk for a fairly brief time about the research that I did and then try to get you to talk. And there's some things that I'm trying to learn on this trip, so I will focus on those things at the end of the talk and you can help me learn them. I've already given several of you homework, so this has to do with that homework. So, as Desiree said, I wrote a book about gay, lesbian, and transgender steelworkers. And how that happened is, after graduate school, I couldn't get a job, so I wound up working as a car mechanic, which I did for 7 or 8 years, and I was trained in that field, and I loved it, and then I got a job teaching college again. But where I taught was in Gary, Indiana, where the steel mills are, and I was fascinated by them, just kind of what they look like, their remoteness, the beauty of them on the lakefront. I just love them. They have that methane flame. I wanted to know more about it, and because I had been a car mechanic, and it's probably going to come as a shock to you, but I'm a lesbian.
Really?
No, I know. It's hard to believe, but true. So I had that experience of being a lesbian in a blue-collar job and understanding how the culture kind of, in one way expected that, and in another way didn't know how to handle it. So, in my job interview to be a car mechanic, several things happened. Like the service manager that was interviewing me told me to stand up, which I did. And he looked at my body up and down, and he said, well, at least we won't have to modify the uniform to fit you. I'm like, thanks. Okay.
Thanks.
So there are just sort of lots of ways that the kind of job you have affects the kind of person that you are and how that works. And I wanted to know how that happened in steel mills. So first I just went to the library. I looked up, gay steelworkers, and there was nothing at all. And then I went to archives, I went to Pittsburgh, I went everywhere looking for any information about gay steelworkers. And they all looked shocked. They'd be like, I don't know how this is. Our entire archive has absolutely no mention of them. That's weird because we're so tolerant in our mills. And I'm like, well, you probably aren't, because if you were tolerant, the people who were gay and lesbian who worked there would not be as hiding as they are. So what I did for that book is I just wandered around and tried to meet them. So I used to be a shy person, but I couldn't stay a shy person and do this. I just went to all the local bars and hung out and went up to strangers and said, hey, here you are in a gay bar. Are you a steelworker? Could we be friends? So I ultimately met 40 people who would sign a consent form, and I wrote a book about them and what their lives were like. And similar to trucking, their lives were very different based on gender. So to be a lesbian steelworker, it was hard, but it was no big deal. If you had a job in a steel mill and you were a woman, everyone kind of assumed you were a dyke. So, cool. Didn't matter, right? Whereas if you had a job in a steel mill and you were a gay man, you hid very carefully, very thoroughly. Because if anyone found out that you were gay, you're dead. And they literally feared that every day. And similar differences hold true in trucking. So, for example, I interviewed 64 gay, lesbian, transgender, and minority truckers. And it was very easy to find them, right? It took me years to find 40 steelworkers. It took me, I think, 10 minutes to find 64 out, proud, visible, gay, lesbian, transgender, and minority truckers. And, I turn them away more every day. People contact me and they're like, ooh, me too. And I'm like, I'm not doing any more typing. I'm done with that. Because everyone I interview, I turn on my recorder, we have a conversation, it's fun, and then I have to type it. That is not fun. It takes forever, it's torture. So I met 64, and I just randomly met the first 64 who replied. And I met them, and I talked to them, and I transcribed it, and then I stopped. And I could have stopped anywhere, but 64 seemed like the number when I was out of patience to type. But you'll see in the slides, which I will show you in a few minutes, the only people willing to be seen are women. So I interviewed gay men. I interviewed black gay men. I contacted them and said, hey, can I put your photo in my book? No, none of them. Not trans men, no man wanted their photo in my book. So they would talk to me, but anyone who talks to me is anonymous. I don't reveal who the people are. I don't talk about it. So the transcripts in my book are anonymized, so you'll see faces, and clearly those people aren't anonymous. You can see their faces, but you don't know whose stories attached to which faces, right? So that amount of anonymity is important. So what I did is I interviewed 64 truckers. I'm in second stage edits. So there'll be a book about this in about a year. It takes a long time. So that'll happen in about a year. And one of the things I discovered is trucking is changing for everyone, but trucking is changing more for the populations that I interviewed. So in my first book, I looked for people who identified as gay, lesbian, bi, or trans. For this book, I wanted a bigger group because the definitions of bi, lesbian, gay, and trans were too limiting for the steelworkers. There were some people who, especially men, who had lots of men less sex whenever it was handy, but they wouldn't have identified as gay. So I wanted to be able to get groups of people who aren't defined by those specific terms, but have kind of behaviors that might fit within them. And also, other people new to the trucking industry who are becoming really common in the trucking industry and get a lot of challenges, difficulties, that kind of experience in the trucking industry. So I talked to women, I talked to people who belong to racial minorities, I talked to immigrants, I talked to gay people, lesbian people, and transgender people. And for whatever combination of reasons, I talked to a lot of trans women. The first 8 people that I met were trans women who drive trucks. And they don't do it because it's easy. You truckers out there probably have met lots of trans women driving trucks, right? There are a lot of them out there. And they don't do it because it's easy. They do it because nothing else will hire them, right? Trans women, especially these trans women, are visible. They're not Caitlyn Jenner. Like, if you see them coming towards you, you know that they're trans women. They haven't taken hormones, they haven't had sexual reassignment surgery, they're proud of being trans, they want you to notice that history is written on their bodies really quickly, and they're proud of that. But it makes them incredibly vulnerable. So they get these jobs because no one else will hire them. But when they get these jobs, they face a lot of harassment. A lot of it happens in the bathroom. So one of the women that I interviewed ran a weekly run and went back to the Loves in her hometown where she left her car all week when she was out. At the end of her run, clean up everything out of the truck, take it all into the bathroom, go to the bathroom, get a little food, get in her personal car and leave. Had been doing this for 6 or 7 years, right? Long term. As soon as HB2 passed, the manager of the Loves came up to her and said, "You can't use that bathroom." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You're making our customers uncomfortable, the other customers." And she's like, "What? I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years, every week. What do you mean I'm making them uncomfortable?" And he said, "I need to see your birth certificate before you use my bathroom." And that's just one example. I mean, any number of these women have been threatened with guns in the bathroom almost every day. So, but the thing is, like any truckers, they're pretty funny. Has, told me a hysterical story that happened in the terminal, because her son works as a dispatcher in the terminal. And her son overheard another trucker say, "I don't know, what is that he, she over there?" And the son said, hey, wait, you gotta watch how you talk about that. That's a woman, and that's my father. And the other trucker's like, "Oh, sorry." So there's a lot of kind of pride and attitude and humor and stories in what they tell. Let's look at another one. This is going to be the cover of my book. I mean, I love the photo, I love the background, I love kind of the pose and the style.
Says a lot.
Yeah, just kind of like pulled over by the side of the road and, wearing that. Let's look at another. So, and there's also huge amounts of racism that truckers experience out there. Any number of experiences, but is one of the many women who, many of you know them, who won't leave the truck at night. And what the kind of weight implications of that are. So, she told me a story of leaving her truck to take a walk, and it wasn't night, it was day. Leaving her truck up at Carlisle, Pennsylvania to go take a walk. Middle of the day, passed a cop car on her way out onto the side street she was going to take a walk on. Made the cop car look her in the eye and kind of nodded, greeting to the cop car. Went on a walk, coming back, 20 minutes later, some people, 4 young men, white guys in a car, saw her, started screaming the N-word at her, tried to run her down in front of the cop car, while the cop car just sat there and watched. And the, complete mundaneness of that story, and how many people told me stories around like that. I was in my car once talking to one of these women who called me, and I wasn't really paying attention. I was trying to drive, and she said, I'm gaining weight. And I was like, well, do you exercise? And she just started laughing. She's like, I can't get out of my truck. Exercise is not possible. So I was just like, oh, right. I didn't even kind of think of that.